Welcome back to another episode of Girls & Co. We've got a very special guest, someone who's never done this before.
Never.
The one and only Shelfy. How are you doing?
I'm doing good.
Good.
I'm doing great.
Do people in your life call you Shelfy or Dan?
No, they call me Dan.
Okay, so I want to start off with that. Who are you and where did that name come from?
Okay, so it's really simple.
Okay.
I'm Dan 24/7
Okay.
in my real life.
Okay.
But Shelfy is short for top shelf.
Okay.
So when I first started making content on the internet, I wasn't planning on like making content on the internet. So when I made my YouTube account, I just named it my gamer tag, which was Top Shelf.
And it just...
So my YouTube name was Top Shelf for like 2 years. And when I went to my first event, people started calling me Shelfy because it's super awkward saying top shelf, calling someone Top Shelf.
Yeah.
So they started calling me Shelfy for short, and I just changed to that.
Okay.
Now that's just kind of turned into a nickname. I needed it to have a nickname though, because Top Shelf was weird.
Yeah, Top Shelf
weird.
is like, okay, bar, restaurant, the service, hospitality. Okay, so let's go back to the very beginning. Where you're from, who are you, where you grew up, all of that stuff.
I grew up in South Philly.
Okay.
I grew up in South Philly. I was born at Children's Hospital, Philadelphia.
Nice.
And when I was 13, my dad got a promotion. So we moved to Delaware. He was working in Wilmington, Delaware at the time.
Okay.
So high school all was like a reset for me. And
Yeah.
yeah.
Perfect age for that, huh?
Yeah.
Perfect age.
Worst possible age for that. I remember
Yeah.
the first baseball team I tried out for. I tried out, and everything went great. And then I got put on like the bottom roster, and I was like,
the bottom shelf.
Yeah, I got put on the bottom shelf. That's pretty much what happened.
I love it. So when did gaming and content kind of come into your life? Was that kind of an escape for you growing up?
It was always an escape for me. So, I mean, when I was 9 years old, I remember the first like Little League championship I ever won. My whole team came over to my house, and like the parents hung out in the backyard, and we played the second Crash Bandicoot game
Oh my gosh.
on PlayStation
That's
1
awesome.
all night. We
I
played
love that.
all night, and it's just always been a part of my life. And when I was in high school, like my friends from the neighborhood, that was like our thing. Like we would go to school, we'd go to practice or whatever, and then at like 6 o'clock, we had that couple hours.
Get on your headset.
We'd put the headset on, and that was it for like, I mean, from middle school all the way through high school, it was just like that. It was like a part of our culture.
That makes sense. And so at what point did you decide, you know what, I'm going to film myself doing this?
That was a weird bridge to cross. Because when I first started like making content, I was really just doing like tips and trick stuff because I was really good at the NHL games.
Okay.
I was really good at the NHL games. So I started watching like people that were already making content on that type of stuff. And I was like, all right, well, I'm already doing it. I'm already doing it.
Just record it.
I find it interesting. So I was like, why not? I'm not going out as much as I used to. I got more free time.
Yeah.
So I just started it, and the snowball started rolling instantly. I think it was less saturated back then.
Yeah.
In 2015 than
That's
it
what I
is
was
right
going to
now.
ask is when. And so back then it was YouTube is where you started?
Yeah, YouTube's where I started.
Okay.
And NHL already had like an established community. There were some people there. And I forget, I couldn't even tell you what got me to MLB The Show, but someone convinced me to just play MLB The Show. And I hadn't played it in years because I was always like more of an Xbox guy. I had Xbox, PlayStation, it's exclusive on PlayStation. So I was always more of an Xbox person. But I started making MLB, and when I was playing MLB, I was making some videos. My first thought with the whole thing was no one else is really doing this.
Yeah.
Like, there's like 2 or 3 other people doing this, and the biggest person doing it at the time was Dodger Films.
Oh wow,
Bobby Crosby, but he's more known for like the softball games. Like he does the video game stuff, and he was doing great at it. Those videos were awesome, but it wasn't like his primary content. There wasn't anyone like primarily making baseball video game content, so I just went with it. And right around the same time, there was like 5 or 6 other guys that started at the same time as me, and we've kind of but they're like go to each other's wedding type stuff now.
Oh wow.
Like we've been in a group chat together for like 7 years now.
That's crazy.
Like, they're some of my fuzzies. They're some of my best friends.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And so at what point you start doing this, you're making videos, doing content, move over to MLB The Show. What was the moment or the video or whatever it may be that you were like, okay, this could be a career, I think.
I think honestly that moment was the paycheck. That was at some point I started making enough money off of it to where like I felt dumb going to work.
Yeah.
So it's because like I dropped out of school before I made the decision to do this. I was going to school. I was in my second year at Salem Community College.
Okay.
I wanted to be a writer.
Really?
And I just woke up one day and I was unsure because like I didn't know if I wanted to be like in media as a writer or if I wanted to like think about writing like a book or like be creative.
Interesting.
But I don't know. I had like an epiphany one day. I just woke up. I just didn't know what I wanted to do. And that 45-minute to drive to school every day was weighing on me. So I dropped out. I was working 2 jobs when I started doing YouTube for fun.
Okay.
And eventually I started making more on YouTube than I was at either of the part-time jobs. So I went to 1 part-time job and YouTube. And then eventually it was just YouTube.
So it was like a slow, like a gradual fade.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
And there was never really like a point where I was like, I'm going to do this until I was full time. Like the day I went full time is when I was like, all right, I'm going to do this now. But up until then, it was just, I was just riding the wave.
Which is crazy because I think nowadays you hear a bunch of creators say that it was like overnight success, light switch. All right, I'm in, like, I'm done with everything else, like contents. But yours, what do you think? Like a year, 2 years? Time frame where it was kind of 2 years?
So I would say one of the bigger moments was when I went to LA. I went to Los Angeles in 2017 and I met up with a bunch of other people that were like similar size to me, like we're doing YouTube but weren't full time with it, like we all had other jobs. Yeah. And when we went out there, we just started networking. We met with people at EA Sports. We met with Dodger Films. So I've mentioned before, I played in a video, one of their softball games. I played in one of those. And that first trip, when I just started meeting people and doing stuff, like I wanted to do more. It wasn't really about the job or like turning it into a full-time job. I was having so much fun. Like I just flew to Los Angeles to like hang out with these people that I met on the internet. Yeah. And it's like, but because for me, I hadn't been on an airplane until I was 22 years old. Like literally the year before I went to LA, I had got on my first airplane. I grew up in the city.
That's crazy.
I didn't go anywhere. Like my dad didn't get his license until he was like 40 years old because we lived like in the city.
That's such a Northeast thing. I feel like,
it's a very Northeast thing.
That's crazy to me. I want to go back to you going to college and studying writing. Like you wanted to be a writer. Is that something that you still have an itch for nowadays in any form or fashion?
Not necessarily. I think my whole thing was always just, I will say from time to time I do joke around with Roman about I joke around with him about making up a superhero. Yeah. And like from time to time he'll like joke around about it. And I'm like, I will write that whole thing.
I will do it tomorrow.
If you just if you wake me up tomorrow with some random like character you created, I will start typing. You'll have a whole plot. I'll start typing.
I love that. That's cool. But I mean, I think the people who study writing or any kind of creative field, they want a way to express themselves. Yep. And you figured out a way to do that in an obscure way at the time, but it feels like it worked for you, right?
Yeah. Obscure is a good way to put it.
Yeah, obscure. I mean, what was the response to the people in your life when you were like, I'm doing YouTube full time?
It was I mean, I've heard some horror stories from people that like their parents weren't supportive or like their girlfriend was like, what are you doing?
Oh, yeah.
Like me though, like everyone in my life, they already knew. I mean,
you ease people into it.
Yeah.
Over the years.
And not even just that, like everyone that knows me knows that like if I'm doing something, I'm doing it 150%. So like it wasn't like, yo, I'm going to try and be a YouTuber, which you hear a lot nowadays. Yeah. You hear that a lot nowadays. That really wasn't what it was for me. Yeah. It was like, hey, you know that hobby that I've already talked about a bunch before? Well, I'm kind of making enough money to just do it.
That's crazy.
So the only person who really gave me a hard time, I have a cousin.
Yeah.
And we would
there's always one.
There's always one. I'll tell this story. We would hop on Call of Duty at night and we would just be sitting there. I'm just sitting here playing Call of Duty, and all of a sudden, just my intro to my video starts playing in the party chat. Right now, he's playing my YouTube videos into the mic like this. I'm sitting here trying to get I'm playing Fortnite. We're like 3 teams left. All I hear is, hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. I'm like, I just edited that. Please shut up. I hate, because that's the other thing for me. People could joke around. My cousin used to mess with me all the time, but I don't really care. Like that stuff doesn't bother me at all. But the playing the videos thing, my own voice is nails on a chalkboard.
It's so just funny,
nails on a chalkboard. I think it's because you spend so much time editing your own stuff. You hate I just overhearing myself talk.
I hate hearing by the end of the video that I'm editing, I will not not go back and watch it. It's out.
It's up.
I don't remember it. It's out
all
of
the
my
chopping.
brain.
I've heard every clip 17 times.
No. And you're like, God, okay.
I'm out of here. Leave me alone.
So how long were you kind of just on YouTube before you started integrating things like Twitch and other social media platforms? Because it feels like you kind of took off when YouTube was a thing. It was a big thing, but it wasn't being utilized like it is today.
Yeah. So live streaming for me, I started in 2019. 2019 is when I made my Twitch account. Up until that point, I would stream here and there. YouTube always had their own like streaming thing, but it wasn't good. They I think they did a whole big switch with that in like 21 or 22. But 2019 streaming on YouTube wasn't really a thing. Like you went live, it was like a default thumbnail.
Yeah, it
was
like so bad.
You couldn't customize anything. No. So I didn't stream that much, but eventually, I think it was one of my buddies was making good money on Twitch. So I was like, let me try a couple streams.
You're already doing it. Why not?
The hard thing, I will say, the hard thing about that and with any creator that's branching out, it's so hard to deviate from the content that's working to like work on side projects. Yeah. Because that's what's working. Especially once you go full time, you have that pressure of like maintaining the income and making sure there's not too many dips. So like working on those side projects can be difficult, but streaming is like an outlet for me. So I started in 2019. COVID is when it really blew up because everybody was at home. Everybody was at home. So I would go live at like 10 o'clock in the morning and everyone was home. So even if people are working, they're it up on there. It's up over on the side. So COVID's when streaming blew up for me.
And what other platforms do you utilize when it comes to stuff like that? I mean, I'm sure you do all of them, but what are the ones that are, I guess, the most lucrative or that you've seen the most success on outside of Twitch and YouTube?
TikTok's the best when it comes to like quick growing and like getting eyes on things. I'm terrible at short form content. That's like my
which is so funny to me.
It's my weakness though. I don't know why. It's a mental block though. Like I said, it's like deviating from the regular content. Because my long form videos do so well for me that it's anytime I make a short form video, it feels like a project. I don't know what the outcome's going to be. And I've had some short form stuff that I've spent a lot of time on that flopped. And it's like, oh my gosh, I think I make really good IRL content, but it's tough, man. It's tough.
I get that. I totally get that. So I want to touch on something that you kind of mentioned, the fact that YouTube is your full-time job and knowing from what comes from being in this world and just content creation in general, has there ever been a point where you're like, okay, maybe I need to zoom out, don't do that as much, and find something more consistent? Has there ever been a moment in that for you?
Not since it started.
That's awesome.
Not since it started, because for me, like, it could end tomorrow. Like,
so you might as well go out kicking.
I'll be fine. I literally, like, my YouTube channel could completely fall out tomorrow. I'd be perfectly fine. Like, I got my first job when I was 13.
Yeah.
I was working at Victoria's Secret when I was doing
Really?
YouTube. It was a overnight shift. I'd go in at like 5 o'clock in the morning.
Okay. Because
I'd move the stages, take the trash out, break down boxes, maybe even do a little security tag work from a little bit, depending on what they need. And then I clock out when they open.
If you would have been a sales associate at 13 at Victoria's Secret, I would have paid so much money for that footage. Like that security footage.
That was my freshman year of college.
Like not wanting to like touch the bra. I was like, no, I don't want to do that. That's
awesome. Part of why my family, everyone was so supportive of everything. Because like I was in college, I would go to school, I'd stay for practice, and then I'd go work an overnight shift. And on days where I didn't have class, I'd pick up shifts at Victoria's Secret, and I'd be at work at 5 o'clock in the morning. I was always doing something.
Yeah.
Like YouTube wasn't like, like
end all be all.
Yeah, it wasn't. I never made it like I'm gonna do this, and like if I don't know what I'm gonna do. It's like if I have to go, I worked at McDonald's in high school. If I gotta go fill out an application for minimum wage, I'll fill out an application for minimum wage. I'll be a manager in 6 months.
Minimum wage is going up. That's a positive. That's a positive. So, well, then on that point, then what is the end goal for you? What is the next step? Because I think a lot of creators run into the fact of like, okay, I'm creating content, it's successful, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, like what's next?
Yeah.
So what's next for you?
I don't know.
That's exciting.
I don't know. It is exciting. Because
you could really do anything.
Yeah. I've looked into some side businesses.
Yeah.
I've looked into owning real estate and all that stuff.
Really?
Just trying to, get the money right.
If you start live streaming like Sims, you should start Sims. Yeah, here we go. Some like cross referencing content. I like that.
There's a lot of YouTubers that have had success in like real estate, and there's a lot of them that get into Airbnb.
Yeah,
they get into Airbnb. I go down rabbit holes watching people put their Airbnbs together. This is the worst.
Some of my favorite
some of my
favorite social media accounts. One is on Twitter, and it's called like Zillow, like Best of Zillow or something, and they just find outrageous homes on Zillow, and I will just doom scroll through the entire thing.
Yeah, I missed 3 episodes of my show.
It's like, well, okay, it's fine. Okay, so zooming out, coming back to us at Jomboy Media, how did you get introduced to the guys here, and how did you become a part of it?
I got introduced to Jomboy at the Easton Experience in 2019. Easton flew a bunch of influencers out all in one place. That is like the one trip I regret the most, though, out of everything that I've done.
Why?
I was in a bad, it was the only trip where I was in like an actually bad mental, but I was just dealing with some family health stuff at home, and I don't like putting that on other people, so I was wearing a mask the whole trip. I just didn't talk as much as I wanted to, and like, if it wasn't for Jimmy having a good relationship with Frisk and Fuzzy, I probably wouldn't have even talked to them much after that trip, because I didn't put myself out there. I remember there's one moment from that trip in particular, it's always stuck out to me. We went out to get pizza the first or second night we were there, and I just was in the corner on my phone the whole time because I was getting updates from my sister and stuff. And when we left, I remember thinking, I met everyone, I got everyone's phone number, but I feel like I didn't like attempt to have a relationship with anybody on this trip, and that bit me for a while. So I'm happy that like we circled back, because Jimmy and Jake obviously have a good relationship with Frisk and Fuzzy, so I've been invited back. But now I feel like I've gotten that back, but I wish I could do that Easton trip over again. That's when I met them.
I mean, I get that. I think as creators, you sometimes find yourself in a place where you have to go through the motions a little bit whenever you're dealing with things back home or in personal life. And I have moments like that. I think we all have moments.
The show goes on.
Yeah.
The show goes on.
I try to explain to people that when you, and I'm sure you get this whenever you stream, it's like when you are live, it's a light switch. That light switch is on.
Yep.
And the second it's off, you
sink.
Dead.
Yep.
The second we do these like live streams for the playoff games, I'm energized on whatever. It's done. No personality.
Yes.
Zero personality.
Doing it you just brought me to I did a show for MLB Little League World Series on ESPN. We hosted at the Little League World Series, but the way they set the setup, we were in the sun, and we were in the sun, like directly under the sun, just doing reads for like 2 straight hours. So it was like the worst time of my life. And the whole time that the red light's going on, red light's coming off, red light's going on,
and you're like,
I'm a YouTuber.
It's fine. We are having so much fun here. That is, have you, over the years, I'm sure you've run into people, and I'm sure you've read comments and dealt with all the negativity. Like, what is something that's been hard about your career that you think that you've been able to overcome maybe over the years, or something that you still struggle with just being a creator and putting yourself out there constantly?
See, I try not to, somebody out there's got it so much worse than me. So I try not to think like that at all.
Right.
Like, for me, really, like the hardest thing on a day-to-day is actually working from my own house. So like if I have to go to the kitchen, or if I have to go to the bathroom, like my kids want to see me, and it's like getting it, but like that's also a blessing too.
Right.
Like I get to see my kids at home. Like people don't have that. So like any negative that I have associated with this current position I'm in, there's also positives. So really, probably my ADHD, just staying on track day to day, keeping things organized, because I don't have a boss. I don't have anyone looking over me. I don't have anyone saying this needs to be done. Yo, did you get that done? Hey, where's that email? It's if I don't get it done, I don't get paid, and that's just that's it. That's it. There's nothing else.
So when did you start? Have you always involved your family in some of your streams, and your kids and your wife and whatnot? Because I love the fact that you kind of have combine both your personal and professional life. We see a lot of creators that keep that very separate, but you have capitalized on it in a very elegant way, in my opinion. So what was that decision like for you? Because I'm sure when they're younger, that's hard.
Yeah, I'm part of the reason I don't upload as much IRL stuff as I would like to, is because I don't want to throw my kids out there too much, and I don't want to like put them into
hard.
It's tough. And for me though, like I'm really grounded. I'm a very simple, like I was always a homebody growing up. Me and my wife have been together since we were 14 years old.
I love that. So she's seen the whole process.
Oh, she's seen the entire process.
That's awesome.
From the beginning. From when I made my first video, I was still living at my parents' house. I was sitting on the edge of my bed in my bedroom when I made my first video at my parents' house. And then it was our first house together, making content in the office downstairs. And now we have 2 kids, and we have this house in the suburbs. And she's been there from the beginning.
That's awesome.
The beginning.
That's awesome. I love that. So zooming back to the Jomboy me, I'm bouncing all over the place because my brain's all over the place too. So I feel
relatable.
you. I feel
relatable.
You. You've been a part of some content and also the warehouse events. We got to talk about the warehouse accident.
It happened.
First of all, do you hate us?
No.
Okay, that's good.
No.
Does your wife hate us?
It's the complete opposite. I'm so thankful with how everything played out, and I feel like I tried to push this energy out when I got back to the warehouse.
Oh my God.
From the moment I got hurt, I couldn't even think about my foot. The whole time I was like, I cannot ruin this content right now like this. Like
I remember
the whole time I can't be the whole car ride to the emergency room and the whole way back I was just like, I'm gonna be energy. I'm gonna just be happy. I'm happy to be here. Like I don't want to leave and that be the last of me. And I was so adamant out getting back before the championship because I wanted to at least show up before it ended. Because I don't like, I'm not an employee here. So like the fact that like the Shelfy who we invited down here as a personality just blew his leg off.
I remember this moment where we helped you off the field.
It's burned in my brain.
I had to go get your phone. And the first thing you said to me was, I really don't want to mess up the content. I was like, you've got to be shitting me.
That part of the part where I was on the couch, I blacked out for that. Conversation I don't remember. What I do remember, and you're the person that I explain anytime anyone asks me about like how I reacted. Yeah. Your face is burned in my brain because all I remember was I stopped running and I was standing there like, that's not good. Like,
I instantly knew.
I can't feel my foot. And I think it was Nikki and someone else grabbed my arms and you looked right at me and you said, are you okay? Are you okay? Or what did you do? You said something like that. And I think you were going to ask me a question and I looked at you and I said, I just tore my Achilles. Like I was positive that I just tore my Achilles. I tore my Achilles. And right after I said that to you, I blacked out. All I remember was I tried to step on it. And when I stepped on it, it wasn't there. Like my foot just wasn't there at all. Mm-hmm. And I almost fainted, actually.
No, I remember that.
My body like kind of dropped.
I started yelling at people. I went into like super type A, like mom mode because I was just like, help him out. Someone get him water. I was like, where's his phone?
Yeah, I just remember testing it and looking up and seeing you. And I was like, I tore my Achilles.
Yeah,
and then I almost passed out. And that's all I remember. I blacked out after that.
Yeah, you on the couch. Only thing you kept saying was, I don't want to mess up the content. I don't want to mess up the content. And I can't remember who I think I looked at Bill and I was like, if he says one more thing about the content and if anyone in this warehouse makes him feel bad about the stupid content, I'm going to lose it.
That guy who tore his Achilles playing
what
cricket
storyline. What a storyline.
No idea how many times I've had to explain this.
The fact that then you walked in, because the entire time I just remember Rose being like, so how are we going to explain this? And I was like, I guess the truth. I don't know. We can't like hide it. But
then the ER doc gave me a bad false prognosis that I mentioned.
So
I'll tell you right now, the emergency room experience.
Yeah. You get there.
I got there.
And it hits you.
Well, first of all, they put me in a wheelchair that I should have said no to because, oh my gosh, bro.
Really?
Yes. But we get back there, and I said I tore my Achilles. And I don't know if he didn't believe me or he's going through standard stuff, but he's touching it, like grabbing it, trying to feel where the gap is. And I'm like, ow. Literally, him grabbing it was worse than when it popped. I'm not kidding. That he was putting pressure on the nerve, trying to find where. I was like, please stop. He told me to move my foot up and down, and I had a little bit of movement on the way down, and he told me it was partially torn. I have 50% mobility, and I need to go see a surgeon when I get home. And I was like, oh, okay, great. Maybe I'll like skip out on the surgery. It'll just be like a long rehab.
You'll be fine.
When I seen the scan myself and there was just a gap in the back of my leg, I was like, oh, all right. He said, you're going to get a surgery called the jig procedure. Didn't even give me the option. He was like, you're getting surgery. It's completely torn.
So that first doctor was just like,
I think I don't know if I like champed. That when I pushed,
you probably
my foot,
were still numb,
and probably just pushed it too far, and he thought it was more active than it was.
It's only partially
torn,
wow.
and then he wrapped it up, and he's like grabbing it while he's wrapping it. I'm like, this is the worst experience ever.
I'll give it to you though. You came back in with a smile, and you sat there through that entire.
I was adamant on being in a good mood.
And you were involved. It wasn't like you were checked out. I honestly thought that you were okay. Like
I thought we were going to win. I'm still mad we lost.
Yo.
I'm still mad we lost.
Honestly, I still think about that. That was the closest that Joe's McFly has come.
Then I almost passed out at physical therapy the first day I went to physical therapy.
What? Okay,
yeah,
so
I was all in my head that day, though.
You leave the warehouse. How did you get back? Because you drove.
Oh, home?
Yeah.
Oh, my sister and her boyfriend came. And my sister drove my car home, and I rode with her boyfriend.
Wow. Okay, so then you go to...
Shout out to my sister.
Shout out.
Stop of a dime, just driving 2.5 hours.
I know.
And making her boyfriend come with her.
What a champ. What a champ. What, the boyfriend just being, yep, okay.
Yeah, it was funny, too. I was riding with her at first, and after like 20 minutes, she was like, I can't drive your car. Because I had my Jeep with me, and it kind of swerves a little bit. She was like, I can't drive your car. I was like, well, if you're switching with him, you're driving by yourself, because I'm hanging out here.
Yeah.
So she drove home by herself. Shout out to Monica.
So how are you feeling now?
Feel good. I feel
good.
Yeah, I can walk. I can do day-to-day stuff at a 100%. I can jump a little bit, and I can jog now slightly.
Okay.
But I can't do anything like explosive. Like if I do the exact same motion I did when I tore it, where I try and like plant off of it, it'll go.
I know. I heard that you were trying to get involved with BB4, and they were like, no.
Yeah. I'm like, listen, I'll come do whatever y'all want.
Are you sure? You need a rep? Oh, it's fine.
I'll do whatever y'all want. But yeah, he pretty much said, I can play wiffle ball with the kids, but don't go trying to sprint.
So how much longer do you have until you're 100%?
About a month.
Okay.
About a month.
So like by the end of the year, you'll be like,
I'm on my running program now where we're like working my sprints up.
Exciting. So what's been the hardest part about that? Because I feel like the patience of it all is really the hardest, isn't it?
The patience is the hardest, especially the first month, because you're in that boot. Showering sucks.
Oh yeah.
Showering
forget about that.
Sucks.
And it's your foot, so it already smells.
Yep.
Oh, your poor wife. God bless her soul.
Oh, you have no idea.
God bless her soul.
You have no idea.
Shout out to the wives and sisters out there, man.
Seriously.
They're the Ingalls. So last question. I know we've kind of already touched on this about your career and where you want to take it, but what is, if you had to tell me right now, something that you are going to tackle in your field next? What are you tackling next in 2024?
250,000 subs.
Okay.
We just keep climbing the mountain.
Okay. What are you at now?
191.
So close.
191.
So close. 191.
We're stepping away from baseball season, though.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I know. Once baseball actually stops, that's when people start wanting it more.
Yep.
So, well, fingers crossed. Fingers crossed for that. Thank you so much for sitting down. This has been great.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me.
Yes, of course. This will be on Girls & Co.'s YouTube and shared all over the place. So, catch you later.